All right, we're opening a file today that's been sealed for, well, for decades. It's an account of a place that, by any logical standard, simply should not exist. This is what we know about the Green Ghost Hotel. You see this quote. It was found scribbled in the margins of an old police report. And really, it says it all. It's the chilling central theme of a mystery that stretches across almost 100 years of just disappearances and things that nobody can explain. So where do we even begin? Well, the account starts with what they call a silent opening. And that's because there was no grand ceremony, no newspaper clippings, just a building that seemed to just appear on a lonely hillside. The date is eerily specific, October 3rd, 1931. But that's where the specifics end. There's no record of its construction, no permits were ever filed, no owner ever claimed it. It was just suddenly there. So you have to ask, right? Who built the thing? Well, that's mystery number one. The only accounts from back then just talk about these strange masked men who only worked at dusk. And here's the detail that'll give you chills. Witnesses swore their boots left no prints in the mud. So let's just lay out the timeline, because it's a wild ride. It opens in 31. 3 years later, a maid vanishes. Then, silence for almost 20 years. Then, in 52, some explorers break in, the whole place burns to the ground in 77, only to just show up again last winter. Every single one of these events just adds another bizarre layer. You know, during the few years it was actually operating, a couple of things kept getting reported by the staff. First, this faint sound of a child's voice every single night echoing in the halls. But it wasn't crying or anything. It was just counting. Slowly, methodically. To 100. And then there was room 12. No one could get in. It was always locked from the inside. Okay, so weird sounds are one thing, but it didn't stay that way. Things escalated. This part of the file is about the first confirmed disappearance, and the only real piece of physical evidence the hotel ever seemed to create. And this is where it gets really disturbing because of the details. Eliza Warren didn't just not show up for work one day. She vanished. Poof. In the middle of her shift. They found her cleaning cart just sitting in the hallway. The water in her bucket, it was still warm. She was there one second and gone the next. And this is what finally made the authorities shut the place down. The guest ledgers. Inside, they found pages and pages of names, check-in dates, and next to every single name, the same word, written in this perfect cursive, returned. Returned where? Returned to who? No one knew. And it was so unsettling, they condemned the building and sealed it shut. So for nearly 20 years, the hotel just stood there, silent and boarded up, a local ghost story. But in 1952, a group of urban explorers decided they were going to be the ones to figure it out. They broke the seals, went inside, and only one of them ever came back out. Imagine being the first to walk in there after all that time. This is what they saw. The dining hall was perfectly set for dinner. The tables, the silverware, everything. But the plates, they weren't filled with food. They were filled to the brim with a fine gray ash. Now, this comes directly from the testimony of the only survivor. He said he saw something standing in the shadows of the main hall, a tall figure wearing a green coat. He said its face was hidden under what he could only describe as stitched fabric. It never moved. It just stood there, watching them. After the survivor fled, absolutely terrified, a search party went in. They found nothing. No bodies, no sign of a struggle. His friends were just gone. Like Eliza Warren, and like every name in that creepy ledger, they had simply vanished. Now, you'd think the story would end in 1977. That's when the hotel was, for all intents and purposes, erased from existence. But with the Green Ghost, it seems nothing is ever really over. A huge fire from an unknown cause just ripped through the place, burned it completely to the stone foundation. And staying true to form, investigators combed through every inch of the rubble and never found a single trace of human remains. But they did find one thing. In all that smoldering ash, they found a single heavy metal key. It was warped from the heat, but you could still make out the number stamped on it, the number 12. The key to the room nobody could ever open. And even with the building gone, the land itself just seemed haunted. They tried to build over the site, but construction crews kept reporting that their tools would vanish overnight. Even weirder, they swear they could hear footsteps echoing from under the ground. Eventually, everyone just refused to work there. The site was abandoned. And that brings the whole story, kicking and screaming, into the present. The case file was cold, the hotel was just a legend people told their kids. And then, last winter, a new report came in that forced them to reopen this thing with a whole new sense of urgency. Get this picture in your head. In the middle of this empty, snow-covered field where nothing has stood for decades, a local kid finds a door. Just a single freestanding door. It's painted that familiar green, and it's cracked open just a little bit. So the kid, he gets a little closer, and he hears a whisper coming from behind this impossible door. It's a child's voice, the same one from all those reports, decades ago. And it's counting. 98, 99. What would you do? He ran. Of course he ran. When the authorities went back to the site the next morning to check it out, the door was gone. In its place, standing there against the gray winter sky, was the Green Ghost Hotel, whole, as if it had never left. And in one of the upper windows, a single light was on. So, the hotel has returned. The voice is at 99. This case file doesn't have a conclusion. It doesn't have an answer. All it has is this one final, terrifying question. After all this time, what happens when that count finally reaches 100?